Hi, class. I wanted to do one last video. This is not an assignment, but I wanted to cover the other chords on this sheet, so at least you would have them. Um, the on the chord progression sheet that you see here on the screen share, the second progression was E, G, A, C, D, E7, and E. Okay, in the first progression, the A minor, C, E minor, G, D minor, E7, you had some common fingers between the chords. Not so much with this progression. So don't worry about that. Just in the beginning, give yourself plenty of time to switch. Let me show you on the chord box sheet, this one, how the chords are arranged. So we have an E chord here where it says number 2. Starts with an E chord, which is very similar to A minor, except your fingers are on different strings. So if you look at the first progression that I laid out earlier, so A minor, you can see the same fingering configuration, but when you play E, each finger is on a different string. Each finger comes up. So we're starting on an E chord, all right? Then we're going to go to a G, which you did in the first progression. That's this one. All right, then we come back down and you play A with your first, second, and third finger. Now, if you have trouble fitting your fingers in that configuration with the 1, 2, 3, you can switch your 1 and your 2. You could put the 1 in the middle and put your 2 above it on the 4th string. Some people find that easier, all right? You can also do 2, 3, 4, but I know a lot of people don't like to use their pinky. So again, the A chord could be done 1, 2, 3, or you can flip the 1 and the 2 and do 2, 1, 3. But either way, your fingers would still be in the same place. The next chord, if you go back to the first progression, is C. All right, you all did that, and that's this chord here. All right, after that, come back down, and you have a D or D major chord. Be careful not to confuse that with the D minor. So the 1 and the 2 are in the same fret, 1 being on the 3rd string and 2 being on the 1st. Your 3 is in the same place. So if I compared it to the D minor, which we used in the first progression, my 3 is in the same place, right? My 1 will go where my 2 was, and my 2 goes to the 1st string. So basically, I'm moving from an F natural to an F sharp, and that's where I get the major sound. After the D, we'll go down here, and we will play B7. On B7, as when you well, we haven't done C7 yet, I guess. So on B7, you're using all 4 fingers. My 1 is on the 1st fret of the 4th string, 2 is on the 2nd fret of the 5th string, 3 is on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, and my pinky is on the 2nd fret of the 1st string. So my 2, 3, 4 are aligned in the 2nd fret, and there you have it. And then when I go back to E, I do have a common finger. My 2 can stay on the 5th string. So I'll play it one more time. E to a G to an A to a C to a D to a B7 to an E. All right. And then finally, we have one more progression. The last one, which has the 7 chords. This is a little tougher, but feel free to give this a try as well. A7, you put your 2 on the 2nd fret of the 4th string and 3 on the 2nd fret of the 2nd string. Play 5 strings. That's your A7 right there. Okay. The next chord, if you keep your 2 down, your 2 can stay where it is. You can go to a C7, which is a C chord, and then you're going to add your pinky on the 3rd fret of the 3rd string. Okay, so that's C7. Now when we go from C7 to D7, keep your 1 on the 2nd string. You put your 2 on the 3rd string and your 3 on the 2nd fret of the 1st. That's D7. Now when I go to F, I can keep my 1 on the 2nd string as well, and I can keep my 2 on the 3rd string. I flip around, Now this is a little tough in the sense your one has to bar two strings. Your one is going to cover the first and second string first fret. So my one is pressing down the first fret of the first and second string. My two will stay on the third string, and my three will go to the fourth string. That's an F chord. That's a little tough in the beginning, but as your hand gets stronger, it'll get much easier. Then finally, G7 has the same hand configuration as F. You're kind of leaning back and on the side of your fingers. I put my one on the first string, my two on the fifth, and my three on the sixth. That's a G7. So this final progression, which, if I go to the other sheet for a brief moment, you can see A7, C7, D7, F, G7, E7 we had done in the first progression. So that's an easy chord. And then we end on A7. So let me go back. Just to cover it, the E7, if you look back at the top, it's just the one and the two. All right, you get to play all six strings. So let me play this last progression for you. So that's where the number 3 is. Basically, look there if you want the diagrams for the third chord progression. You have A7. Hold your second finger, go to C7. Okay, hold your first finger, go to D7. You can hold your first and second finger, flip around. You're going to lean back on the side of your fingers, leaning back away from me. It's easier than just pressing down straight. That's kind of hard. Leaning helps a little bit in getting that bar of the first two strings. Then I go to G7. So my one goes to the first, my two goes to the fifth, my three goes to the sixth. Then I'll go to an E7. So when I go from G7 to E7, I'm going to keep my two on the fifth string. I'm going to bring my one up to the third string, and I'm going to play all six. Remember, that E7 was in the first chord progression, and then I'm going to end on A7, two on the fourth, and three on the second fret of the second. And that's it. Those are all your open chords. I hope that's a help. And if you have any questions, please email me, or if you'd like me to hear you play these, you can send me a video of you playing them through Canvas, through actually any of the lessons, and I'll get it. So